What's up, guys? Welcome to Broke and Stressed, a PT student podcast where we talk about our lives as broke and stressed physical therapy students. Throughout grad school, you'll come to find that the struggles that you're having happen all the time to thousands of students across the country. You are not alone. In this podcast, we'll share our personal stories and walk you through how we overcame some of our own struggles. I'm your host, Ruben. Let's have some fun, have some good conversation, and let's get into the episode. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Broke and Stressed. Today we have Andrew Gillihan as a guest today. Say hello, Andrew.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Now, guys, if you don't know Andrew, you should just follow him on Instagram right now. This guy is a freaking, I don't know, man. He just does everything. So let's start off. He's a founder of Stoic Physical Therapy. He's a digital marketer extraordinaire, IG marketing whiz, and he's a huge advocate for men's pelvic health. So, and I mean, if I were to name off all the things he does today, it would probably take up 45 minutes of his entire podcast. So I'm going to let him introduce the rest of himself, what else he does, and say where you go to school and stuff like that.
Yeah. So currently a second-year student physical therapist over at Arkansas State in Jonesboro. So it's kind of a smaller town, I guess. So kind of middle of nowhere. I'm kind of the only person doing what I'm doing in this area, I'm pretty sure. But I guess backstory behind me. So I'm kind of a non-traditional PT student. So I'm 20, I just turned 29, which I have to remember how old I am now. But I actually went to undergrad at Boise State. I took a few years off before actually going and finishing my undergrad after high school. So went in a little bit late, decided to go finish my master's before going to PT school. Did both undergrad and master's in kinesiology. Undergrad was exercise science, exercise science, general kines major with a psychology minor. And then my master's was a behavioral emphasis in kinesiology. So sport and exercise psychology, which kind of really transfers over into the PT world. So applied to PT school after my master's, got in and went the cheapest route I could go. Arkansas State, one of the cheapest schools in the nation, which it's showing right now because everybody else is paying for Zoom classes out the butt right now. And, we're only paying whatever my tuition this past semester was like $6,000. That was it. So it's pretty,
What?
Yeah, no joke. Yeah. It's so cheap. It's stupid cheap. And then, while being here, got involved in a bunch of stuff, with the program, kind of took a step back from that this year. To kind of, further my own kind of personal endeavors. So started Stoic Physiotherapy, which I'm doing like online training, coaching, physical fitness stuff, which I've kind of also backed off on that a little bit. I still have some clients that I'm working with. They're just longtime clients that I've, worked with for even before PT school. Now they're, paying clients. And then started doing some digital marketing, went through digital income school with Ruben, of course. Did some Instagram marketing stuff with Andrew Tran, physio memes. Started doing my own like digital marketing side gig stuff, which has really like blown up recently. Have 4 or 5 clients that I'm working with right now. Some in PT, some like gyms PT. One's an actual like kind of like what Will and Alex do, a coaching. A coach, I guess, for like sales and business. And then another one's like an IT company. Yeah. And then really tried to get involved in more of like men's public health, men's mental health stuff. Kind of where I want to end up is working like with military tactical athletes or within the VA. That's kind of like the population that I jive with the most. I like that intense kind of, those savage individuals, that kind of motivate you to like just be a badass, like those are the people that motivate me to just be better. Just watching people that are so good or, just at such an elite level, or they have such a passion, or they give up so many things for other people. So those are kind of the people that I like to work with. But yeah, so now I'm just working on a ton of stuff all at the same time, trying to live my life, have a girlfriend at the same time. So yeah, it's crazy.
Man, that is crazy, dude. You do a lot of stuff, and we'll get more into detail on all that stuff later on, and then you guys will find out how he manages all of this. But start off, let's go into a tradition that I have for this podcast is sharing an embarrassing moment of yourself from PT school. So Andrew, why don't you go ahead? You have a moment that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah. So talking about managing this stuff. So I live and breathe and die by my calendar. That's on my iPhone and on my Mac. And for whatever reason, I didn't put an alert in my phone or on my calendar. And I actually forewent and like totally did not go to an entire day of class um, this past week actually. So I just didn't even with Zoom classes, and they're trying to move everything back to in person, and I just totally just went right past me. I had one of my peers text me about 30 minutes into when class was supposed to start, like, "Hey man, you good?" And I was just like, "Oh shit, I was supposed to be there, wasn't I?" So, but it was all good. Nothing came of it. I didn't get in trouble or anything. So it is what it is. So yeah,
Yeah, there you go. I remember, was it first? It was first semester, and it was like just intro to PT class. I was late, and I slept in, and then my buddies were like FaceTiming me, and it was a quiz. They're like,
yeah,
dude, we have a quiz right now. Where are you at? So I was flipping out. I was like, dude, they're gonna drop me out of PT school. This is done. I'm
yeah.
like, my hopes and dreams are crushed right now.
Yeah, you're gonna get written up. You're gonna get in so much trouble. Yeah, a faculty member he didn't even know I wasn't there. That's how crazy everything is right now with COVID and all these restrictions and stuff that they don't even. It's not even on their
Mhm.
radar anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
What class was it?
it was patho, differential
Oh, okay.
diagnosis. Yeah, so it is what it is.
Yeah. At this point, you can't go back in time and
No, no. So I mean, it was I still looked at the PowerPoints. I still studied everything.
there you
So
go.
it's all good as long as I know it for the test. It doesn't matter if I was there or not. So it is what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's get into some of all your side hustle stuff. So, what made you want to start doing side hustles along with PT school? Because I'm sure a lot of people going into PT school, they hear horror stories saying like, "Man, you can't do any. You got to study. You got to be in the library 24/7. You got to be studying. You can't even don't even work a job. Don't even have a social life." Like, what made you want to say, "Fuck that. I'm gonna do all this stuff and just do me."
So like I said, I'm a little non-traditional, and I have grad school experience prior to PT school. Um, so in my master's degree, I was a graduate assistant. So I worked the standard 20 hours a week to get my tuition paid for and get a stipend. And that was on top of full-time school. So I was teaching classes. I was, had my own GA stuff for research. I was doing my own thesis work. I was doing my own like actual classes too. And then on top of all that, I worked at a restaurant on the weekends that I worked like from through undergrad at Boise State. And then I went to Boise State for my master's too. So I worked there the entire time I was going to school. So it was kind of I guess getting into PT school and recognizing like what your capabilities are and what you can actually do and handle. I had a really good idea of what that was. So first semester, I wasn't really doing anything. It was mostly kind of getting the swing of things. Obviously, I moved all the way across the country to go to school, so it was more of a get situated, figure out where I'm at, and then actually this past spring semester, I was going to I started doing like test proctoring for there's a med school here on campus. So I was doing test proctoring for the med students as a PT student, which is really funny because they were all like, "Are you a med student?" I was like, "No, I'm in PT on the other side of campus." And they're all like, "Oh, okay." So I started doing that, and then COVID hit. So I was like, "Well, what do I do?" Kind of thing. And I was kind of already working. I was already one of the ambassadors for Andrew Tran. So for Physio Meme, so he was kind of getting into the Instagram marketing stuff, which that's kind of like I like Instagram. That's kind of been like my favorite like social media outlet for whatever. I don't really get on Twitter that much. I have one, but I don't like the vortex of negativity of Twitter. And then Facebook is kind of more of groups and stuff like that. So I wasn't really into that. But Facebook marketing or the Instagram marketing, I just kind of jived with that like from the get go. So working through that stuff was awesome, and then ended up getting into, connecting with Will and Alex and doing digital income school. So that was kind of okay, how do I make, I mean, I guess I worked at a restaurant and I was a GA. So it was more of, how do I make as much money as fast as possible? I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day. And like in little of time as possible, right? Because the restaurant industry is, you go to work for 5 hours, and the restaurant that I worked at was more fine dining. I was a server. So, on a weekend, on a Friday night, I'd walk away with $300 in my pocket, in cash. So, which is really sweet. And then, I'd work a Saturday too, and a weekend I'd make $600. So figure over the course of a month, I'm like, oh, I'm balling, and as a grad student. So like trying to get to that level was basically like my whole goal of like, okay, how do I automate? How do I make things as like streamlined as possible? How do I just make a shit ton of money? That was really the biggest thing. So yeah, and then it just kind of took off, and I'm one of those people that I kind of ride that wave of things as they go. And, if whatever that takes to, whatever the flow is of those things, I just ride that. So, yeah.
For sure. And so IG marketing is your like main source of side hustling essentially.
Yeah, that and Facebook ads right now.
Mhm.
I mean, you could say like web design stuff, because I make quite a bit of money doing that. But I
Mhm.
think I like doing the Instagram marketing and Facebook ads more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really good at the web design, but it's, a lot of it's tedious, and I'm also a perfectionist to some degree, that I'm like, it has to be just right.
Mhm.
That sometimes I get stuck in this weird, like, I'll spend an hour and a half on something that shouldn't take me that long. And I'm like, why is this not working though I want it to? And I'm like, I know this, like, this is supposed to work this way. And so, I mean, it's still a learning, like I've only been doing it for 6 months or something like that. So it's not something that I would say like I'm a professional at. I'm pretty good at it, but there's still a lot of things that I'm learning continually from all these things. And like, so yeah, it's still a
Yeah,
learning curve. Still on the way. So,
definitely. So I gotta ask, how do you find time to balance it all?
um, you give up a lot of things,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that's the biggest thing that I find. Like, my biggest struggle is I am like a workhorse that I will just go, go, go. Like a few nights ago, I stayed up for like 3 hours longer than I probably should have, working on a website. And I was like, fuck, I need to go to sleep. Like, this can wait till tomorrow. But I was like in such a groove of just like cranking through it and doing it, that I stayed up, and I was like, why did I do that? It's like, I should have, like saying no and setting those boundaries is, sometimes hard, and I had leeway, like I could sleep in. But a lot of it is like, I set a schedule of things and say like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this for an hour. And then at that hour, I stop. That's like, I'll get up, I'll walk around the apartment complex or something. I'll hop on my stationary bike or whatever, just to, get up and move, because I'm on the computer, whatever, an average of 12 hours a day is what my little screen time thing says. But yeah, I think I pretty much live and die by my calendar at this point, and reminders on my phone of go do this, this is due this day, this is due this day. And I'm not really a procrastinator, so that's probably helpful as well.
Oh man, I am envious of that.
So yeah, there's like, my classmates are always like harping on me that too, because like there's a few assignments that aren't due for like a month that I was like, dude, I'm done with it. Like, I don't want to think about it. I just want to be done. I want to go do what I want to do. Like, it's just one of those things that I'll sit down and I'll just do it. Um, that's like the biggest thing. You have to force yourself to do those things. So,
Mhm.
but that's also like, that comes with experience, I think. Like I said, I'm a little bit older. Like, I've been through grad school. Like, I have more years of grad school experience than most people in PT school. Most people come
Mhm.
out of undergrad and they're still 22 to 24-ish. And I came into PT school at 27 with already 2 years of grad school under my belt. So it's just a matter of kind of finding those, I don't know, those methods of being successful. So, and also, I'm not a straight A student. So I'm not that person that tries to get A's in every class. Like there's you know, I think in my master's I was that way, like I really like was striving to do well. And then towards the end I was like, why? Like everybody's walking out here with the same, I might as well go, go on a hike or go on a bike ride or, go enjoy your life too. Cause there's a lot of things that you have to recognize. Like you don't have to get the A in the class. You don't have to be, I don't have to have 100 clients to be successful. I don't have to, you know what I mean? Like you have to have give and take for all of these areas. Like I said, I have a girlfriend and we're actually long distance. So she's about 8-hour drive away. So I'm going to drive up there this weekend, but it's like I've gotten most of my assignments and most of my lectures and reading that are asynchronous for next week. I have them done already. Like I was working on them tonight before we got on this. So I'm like, if I can get ahead for next week, I can enjoy, like truly sit and enjoy everything that I want to enjoy this weekend. So that's just, I don't know. There's things that you want to do and then there's things you have to do, and you have to do these things before you can get the things you want to do. So that's generally how I go about it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's honestly inspirational. Did you feel like that non-procrastinating thing is something that you've always had, or do you think, like you're saying, like
No.
it took time to develop?
That is not something that I've always had. I mean, to some degree, yes. I'm pretty I'm a pretty organized person. Like, and probably my parents would tell you, like, I'm pretty neurotic in my like organization of like my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in school wise, I haven't always been that way. Or like, I think it takes more of an understanding of like what's important to you, like actually figuring out like what is important to you. Because if you don't know, like, and if you're just kind of willy nilly, like PT school is important, which I agree that's important to me, but that's not the most important thing to me by any means. Obviously if I failed out of school right now, it would be one of those things that I would go find something else to do. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to enjoy my life. So I think that just comes with like a maturity of when you kind of get to that point, you're like, oh, like I rather go spend time with the people that I want to go spend time with, or I want to go do the things that I truly love to do, but I have to do these things first. So, and to me, I'm like, how can I get these things done as fast as possible and efficiently as possible, right? Like school, I still have to meet a standard, and do those, and then go do the things that I love to do. So, because I still go do like functional fitness. Like I still, I'm trying to go get back into jujitsu. I'm trying
Oh,
to,
nice.
my plan this winter, I guess, during all these holiday sales is to get into like archery. Actually learn like a new skill, something, because I like being from Idaho and kind of that like West Coast ish area. Hunting's big over there, fishing's big over there, which is something that I don't get to do a lot anymore anyway. So, like going and enjoying like those simple things that I like really love to do that I just haven't been able to do for a long time. So yeah, it's just, you got to get through school. You got to make enough money to be able to afford to go do those things. And now that I have both of those things like pretty set, I want to go be able to, enjoy those other things. So, it's kind of like that building process of you just have to get to that point. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like how you set aside time for your own mental health, and being a mental health advocate, and having the stress of grad school, having the stress of PT school, and all the stuff you're doing. People can see that it is possible to just spend an hour doing something that you enjoy for your own mental health, your own well-being. Because I remember at the beginning of PT school, I was just obsessed with studying, and that I didn't take time to like really take care of myself. And
Yeah.
I love that you're just advocating for that now, because guys, like, yeah, you have, like, what the hell is the point if you're like miserable and you're like, yeah, like there's no point in that.
Yeah. So, and I have a really like good group of like buddies from Boise, that we all went to Boise State together. And one of them's in med school right now, in Chicago. I'm obviously in PT school. One of them, he's a radiology tech, so he's super crazy busy all the time. One of them's in finance out in California, so he's super. He's making a killing right now, but he's super stressed all the time too. So that's one thing of like we have a really close knit like tribe of people that like we check in on each other very like often, weekly. You know what I mean? Like it may not, we may not call each other weekly, but you know, we have a group text that we're always chatting. We're always keeping in touch. Just talked to one of them today, like kind of talking about our friend in med school right now with all these Zoom classes is, I mean, we know that, you know, as grad students, there's a really high level of depression within grad students, and med school students are even worse, right? Like if you look at suicide levels and of doctors and dentists and grad students in general, like suicide and depression levels are like through the roof. So and that's what we were actually talking about today is like one of our buddies is like super depressed and super down about med school. And that's kind of like on our list of things to do is like, hey, like we need to have a guys weekend. Like we all need to get together like sometime soon. And, you know, just chill, you know, get out and enjoy life a little bit and kind of recharge. So, cause that's the biggest thing is like, you have to create that core group of people that will help you through those things. So, cause you can't do it alone. I mean, I'm sure, you know, in your cohort, there's a reason why they try to get everybody to interact, but Zoom and COVID don't allow you to do that. So, you know, it's a matter, you have to, you know, I telling my buddy that's out in California, I was like, I'm really trying to make like a concerted effort to really reach out to people more right now. Cause like, I feel like I haven't been reaching out as well as I could have been during COVID because I've been so crazy busy. And, you know, there's obviously other extraneous factors, like had a good coworker from the restaurant that I worked at in undergrad. He actually committed suicide this last year. So like over Thanksgiving, which has been kind of like really impactful to the whole community that we had because we worked together for, I mean, I was there for almost 6 years and everybody else had worked there for at least 15 to 20. So, you know, like we're super close knit. So, but it was one of those things that like, you know, that affecting me a little bit going into PT school that first semester was like, oh, you know, shit, like I didn't reach out to him. Like I probably could have. I guess that's kind of a guilt thing that, you know, I shouldn't necessarily have, but, you know, I think about it still. So, but yeah, I mean, I have friends that are military right now that I reach out to them consistently because PTSD is real. I mean, those guys have crazy thoughts and the conversations that we've had are absolutely mind blowing to me. So there's, I mean, a lot of people that I, you know, I advocate for that for a multitude of reasons. For people that I have around me and that have surrounded me for a while. So yeah, if that helps clarify that.
Yeah, it definitely does, man. First off, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's
Yeah,
really
no,
unfortunate.
yep, definitely. It's something you know, it happens and think about it often. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really think it's awesome how you mentioned the aspect of social support because yeah, even reaching out to people that could go a long way. That could make someone's day. Literally just asking them how their day is and just having them just unload on you. Maybe they're going through something and you don't know.
Yeah.
Especially like you were saying, like over Zoom. Like, I can't even remember the last time I hung out with my classmates. It's been since March. Like, geez.
Yeah. Well, and then you think about like how many of them have you really like reached out to like a personal level, you know, not just like a group me kind of thing or whatever, but like really reached out to him and like, hey, how are you doing kind of thing. Like that's hard for a lot of people, I think, to, you know, I don't know. Maybe I think about it of like, I've been so busy thinking about kind of myself and like, I've been so driven like all the time and for years that, you know, I get to a point and I stop for a second and I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't reach out to that person or, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that, that I kind of have those moments where I stop and I like look around and I'm like, uh-oh, you know, like I wasn't good in like for that period of time. Like I could have done this better or I could have done that better. So that's just something that, you know, I'm really trying to work on right now is like, I need to get my things done for school and for work so I can, you know, care for the things that really matter. So.
Yeah, man, that's awesome that you have that introspection into like being able to know that those social relationships are important and keeping up with them. I'm pretty bad with that, honestly.
It's hard. It's
It
really
is really
hard.
hard.
I mean, I find that like, I don't know. That's the most challenging thing, I think. I mean, even with my own family. I mean, sometimes I'm not the best, you know, like connecting with my little brother or my nephew or, I just get so indulged in whatever I'm doing that I just kind of forget about everything else. So, but trying to be better. So that's the biggest thing. That's right. Once you're aware, you make changes and adjustments and try to work on it. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, kind of, what are some? Can I go back to side
Yeah.
hustles?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what are some carryovers that you feel like you've learned about yourself and just working, staying as busy as you are? What are some carryovers that you've learned and lessons you've learned that you can feel translate to being a good clinician in the future and a good business person in the future? How do
I,
those two like kind of interact with each other, like being in
yeah.
business,
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
PT?
I think that, I mean, kind of what we were just talking about is you have to understand that sometimes there's a lot of things within the business side that genuinely do not matter. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, more recently, I've kind of been like, oh shit, I need to make more money. Um, and then there's a lot of parts of me that I'm like, but if you're helping people, does it matter? You know? So I think the biggest lesson that I've kind of learned is like, you have to just continually reevaluate like the way you're thinking about certain scenarios and certain aspects of the business and PT. Because, if I'm marketing for PTs, I also have to kind of understand that they're paying me to make more money for them. And then I also interact with them and they have to be able to, I kind of screen my clients for like, do they really have the same ideals as me kind of thing. So that's been kind of the biggest thing is like surrounding myself with, I don't know, people and clients and things that kind of are in the same thought process as me. Um, yeah, if that kind of answers that question, I guess, if the carryover. So just because, I still want to be a clinician, I still want to treat people, I still want to have those interactions. It's just now I'm on the business side of it more so than I actually, currently I'm in didactic work. I'm just doing marketing. So I'm not actually treating people. I'm not on the front line. Um, so I guess, yeah, the carryover is a lot of the business shit doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I don't know. That's just me. So you kind of learn that money isn't everything, even though we have all these Facebook groups and, Facebook ads for make $100,000 and, do your own whatever course and all the shit. And I'm like, fuck, like at the end of the day, does that really matter? Do I want to spend my time doing that? Um, Maybe it sets you up for success later on down the road, and maybe for retirement. I'm like, do I care about that? Or do I care about the person or the people that are right here, right now in front of me? So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then what are, to kind of take this back to where we're talking just about mental health, what are some things that you've learned about like advocating for mental health that can also translate to PT?
I mean, they're intimately intertwined. So there is, I mean, nothing that you can do for a person in the PT clinic that does not involve some sort of mental or cognitive processing. Emotions are intimately tied to any type of injury. Um, I mean, if we're talking about like athletes, if you're looking at identity crisis of athletes, or even, the weekend warrior in CrossFit, imagine, having a rotator cuff tear for one of those people. Think about how that changes their identity, and how they view themselves, how they view the world around them, how they perceive people viewing them. Um, I mean, that takes a huge toll on somebody. The medical, I guess whatever that word is that they have for that, but getting those diagnoses of what is this, and then the fear that goes along with that. So, I mean, because, if you've never been in that position, if you've never had like a serious disease or injury or something that's happening and you didn't understand what was going on or what those terms meant or what the prognosis truly was, or what the plan of care truly is, I think sometimes we lose that, as clinicians. that you just kind of forget that not everybody knows what we know. Or I guess even in terms of like, they don't have the same resilience to that fear of like the diagnosis of, oh, rotator cuff. But if you get, Joe Schmo coming in, has a torn rotator cuff, and all he's heard his entire life is, oh man, if you tear your rotator cuff, you'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. And then he's just devastated when it happens. So, I mean, mental health and PT are intimately, like, they're just meshed together. So you have to take that into consideration. If that's not like a top priority for you, I mean, I'm sorry, that's scary. So I'm scared for the patients that you're, going to have. So.
Yeah. And that's why people underestimate the value of screening for that kind of stuff. Screening for anxiety, screening for depression, seeing how they're emotionally tolerant or handling and responding to the stuff that they're going through. Like you were saying, like if you, like, I'm going to get into the science part of it. If you, looking at chronic pain patients, you see that people who have more chronic pain, it's more, there's a tendency to have greater signs of depression and greater, anxiety related to their disease, related to the diagnosis. Oh, my camera's dead. What the heck?
I was going to say, I think you froze.
I did freeze. Okay, well, I'm going to keep talking, guys, while I try to fix this camera.
You're good.
But anyways, like, yeah, so that's why looking at these depression screenings is important. That's why understanding and being able to relate to your patients, what they're going through, and just that's one thing about the PTs. Like when you look at doctors, when they go to your doctor's office, you're in the waiting room for 30, 40 minutes, right?
Yep.
And then you're in the actual office. Oh man, I'm going to have to switch cameras. Whatever. I'm going to use my ugly laptop camera. Okay. Oh God, that looks horrible. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Hey man,
yeah.
I'm using my laptop camera. What are you trying to say?
Anyway, well, yeah. So basically, yeah, you go to the office, you go to the doctor's office, you have shoulder pain. You're in the waiting room for God knows like 40 minutes. And then you go to the office, go to the actual doctor, he sees you for like 3. He's like, oh, this, and this. All right, take this meds. But PTs, we're in there with you. Like we're your cheerleader, we're your coach, we're there to listen to your problems. And that's one thing. Part of being a PT is empathizing and sympathizing with your patients and understanding they're going through some shit. You need to be there for them.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I don't know if even in PT school, if you've been to the doctor, and like had something, like to go in there, even as somebody that is educated within, the medical field, and somebody be like, oh yeah, it's this. And if you take patho and you're like, what? Like what I know and what I've learned already, what you're saying, those are not good things. You know what I mean? I mean, I can only imagine what people would go through, even as a clinician, and you understand those things of like immediate, I think almost knowing might be worse to some degree, because you're like, oh shit, I know what that is. You know what I mean? I know what the prognosis is for that. And then I also understand what it means if that prognosis isn't right. But I mean, can you imagine as a client, as a patient that has no background in that they just go in and they're just like, what does that mean? And nobody really takes the time to explain that to them, on their level to a degree that they actually understand. Is I don't even remember the last time I had something like that where I was like, oh, I don't understand that. You know what I mean? That scares me, to a point of that's really shitty if, you're going into a doctor's office and that happens. So, but I think that's important, it's like as a PT, you have the ability to actually sit down and empathize and communicate with these people on their level to a degree where you can make them feel comfortable and put them at ease and help them understand what's happening to them. And honestly, that it's probably going to be okay. And if not, you can help them work through that. You know what I mean? Like that's the job right there, dude. That's what I'm
Literally,
like,
yeah.
does money matter anymore at that point? Like if you put someone at so much ease that you literally, talking about mental health, you saved their life. I don't know. I'd take a pay cut for that.
Oh yeah, dude.
So
That's some powerful stuff right there. Literally fucking someone's life. They feel like their life is shit because of their
yeah,
pain. They can't do anything that they wanted to do. And you changed all that.
yeah.
And you were
I mean,
there
that's
for them.
powerful. That's fucking powerful. That's so fucking powerful. So I don't know. That's why I like dabbling and everything. But yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, it comes back to like, what's what's important. So
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna kind of bounce back to we're going back from side hustles and mental health, but to kind of close things off, what are some tips you have for anyone that wants to be Andrew Gillihan, the next Andrew Gillihan, and wants to do a bunch of shit that they're passionate about, but they're in PT school, they're busy as hell, they just don't know how to manage it all. What are some tips you have for them to get to point A to point B?
you are not that busy.
Got him.
You are
Listen to
not
that,
you are
guys. Take
not
that
that
in.
busy. I promise you are not that busy. I mean, there's a lot of, I was just talking about it with one of the coaches at the gym I was at today. He's pretty big into CrossFit, and we were talking about just consistency and things that you don't see on the back end of. I couldn't tell you how many hours I've spent listening to podcasts that are physical therapy related, or books that are marketing related, or reading articles that are strength and conditioning related. I mean, yes, like you see a lot of things on my social media of like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm working with this client, but there are hours and hours and hours of, it's that 1% rule of if you're working to be 1% better every day, like you'll be whatever it is, it's like 37 or 38% better at the end of the year. So, I mean, if you took that in the first year of PT school and you said, hey, I'm going to be 1%, I'm going to spend 1 hour every day dedicated to something outside of PT school, outside of Netflix, outside whatever, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I still sit down and I'll watch Netflix. Like, I don't think I'm, a robot, and like I don't do things to just, to like relax, right? Like there's some nights where like I don't read, like I try to read every night, like before I go to sleep. But there's some nights where I'm like, I can't fucking do it. Like I'm so, mentally taxed. I would just want to shut my brain off and watch like a TV show for 30 minutes. But at the same time, like I walked to class instead of driving. And for that 15 to 20 minutes that it takes me to walk to class, I listened to a podcast. And then on the way back, I listened to the podcast. And then I went to the gym and I listened, I did a workout and I listened to another podcast while I was running on the treadmill or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So you're not that busy. Like there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do that, just like we tell our patients, if the consistency thing is you just load it right over amount of time. If you do some bicep curls every single day, well, you're probably going to get stronger. If you work on marketing every single day, you're probably going to get better at marketing. If you work on, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. You just have to choose whatever it is, and you just have to consistently do it. So that's the biggest thing that I found is if you can, like I said, I live and die by my calendar. Is I block off time to do certain things, and I just do them. That's it. You're not that busy.
There you go. You guys heard it here first. And hey, buddy. So, and in regards to some mental health, what are some good final words that you want to put in to everyone listening that wants to better their mental health and they're going through stressors of grad school or whatever they're going through?
Maybe this is a shameless plug for American Yogi. He is a veteran. I think he's Army, something like that. But he's basically turned into a yoga teacher. And anyway, so it's at American Yogi on Instagram. He has like some of the most phenomenal like writings and like poems and things that he puts up that I think, because he speaks to a lot of mental health for military members, but I think it spans everybody. And I think I bought like a ton of his stickers the other day, and a couple of them are, one of them I put on my car is manifest your stoke. So manifest those things that like get you stoked, man. Like whatever it is, you have to create those things and make those things. The other one is manifest your chill. So you have to, you are responsible for, you know, your mental health, and kind of you're responsible for all of that aspect of it. So even if you're manifesting these things that are super fucking cool over here and you're awesome, you have to manifest those times where you're coming down, you're chilling out, you know, recover from that too, because that's, you know, your stress levels have to fluctuate, right? And the other one is everything is chaos. So no matter what it is like everything is chaos. This world is chaos right now. It's just a matter of you have to accept that, and use the first two things to get through it all. So
Hell yeah, man. I love that.
yeah.
Great tips, man. And if you guys want, I'm going to plug Andrew's, all of his stuff in the show notes of the podcast. You guys want to check him out? I definitely recommend following him, just learning and listening to, looking at his content, just absorbing it. I feel like just seeing all the shit that you do, man, it's inspiring me to push myself to do more. So I really enjoy like having you in my circle.
Yeah. And I forget that sometimes too. Like there's a lot of times where I think my page is sometimes my own like expression to myself. That I'm like, you know, most of the time I feel like I'm talking to myself, not even like the real world.
Yeah.
It's more of kind of my own like journaling sort of thing. But yeah, there's, you know, I often get messages from, you know, other people that are like, thank you. Like that actually helped. Or even, you know, pelvic health stuff. I get questions all the time about pelvic health stuff. That I'm always like, hey, like I'm just a student. I'm sorry, you know, I can't help you, but I can point you in the right direction. I can help educate. But yeah, that's something that, same with you though. I mean, you do the same thing for me. I see you doing stuff and I'm like, oh shit, that dude's killing it over there. Like, you know, it's motivating. Man. It's motivating. So, you know, even watching you, like, I haven't done bodybuilding or anything, but you know, there's a lot of those things that I'm like, that dude's killing it. You know what I mean? Like he's doing something that I don't see on the back end. And I'm like, I know he's grinding, he's working hard. So for sure. I mean, thank you. So
For sure, man. I'd love to having that kind of positive reinforcement in your tribe, just people just working and inspiring each other.
Yeah, dude.
And I love that. I mean, what you were saying about your IG, like, yeah, your IG should be an extension of yourself. It should be who you are, what you're learning. It should be anything you fucking want it to be. And look at you, you're being yourself, you're being your genuine self, and you're inspiring people, and people are learning from it. And that's why I feel like everyone should just be their fucking selves. Like, be yourself and just grow and learn. But
yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
For sure. I agree. So just do you, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, thank you for hopping on the podcast today. I'm mad that my camera broke, but it's okay. It's all good. But yeah, I just want to thank you again, man. Thank you to everyone that's listening in, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
Sweet. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to today's episode of Broken Stressed. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that follow or subscribe button to get notified whenever new episodes are released. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can find me on YouTube or Instagram. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.